for the purpose of progress, to a priest or a prophet, playing God in the process. Was I chasing convenience in a wave of disaster, where the captain's a captor and I'm a puppet to pastor? A worthless war, a curtain torn to take control of this ship. An nail of shame, a broken vein to write redemption is script. A toothless gun, a dying sun to turn the tables we flipped. Turn the tables we flipped. Paint the beauty we split. 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 Na 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 na.
They don't get it, I don't get it. We're committed to sticks and stones. What's a vision if it's driven to a person? I don't know. They don't get it, I don't get it. We're committed to sticks and stones. Undecided, but I'm trying still about it. So it goes.
A worthless war, the curtain torn to take control of the ship. An nail of shame, a broken vein to write redemption is script. A toothless gun, a dying sun to turn the tables we flipped. Turn the tables we flipped. Paint the beauty we split. 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 Turn the tables we flip. Paint the beauty we split. Take control of this ship. Paint the beauty we split. Paint redemption is script. Paint the beauty we split. Turn the tables we flipped. Paint the beauty we split. Na 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 na. Show me a man, an honest mission. I'm willing to hope beyond suspicion. Show me the race, I'll run the distance. Longing to give and taste forgiveness. Dying to live a pure religion. Settle the rush to chase a mission. Open my eyes and soul to listen. Listen.
I was buried beneath my shame. Who could carry that kind of weight? It was my tomb till I met you. I was breathing but not alive. All my failures I tried to hide. It was my turn till I met you. You called my name.
We've noticed something over the years, something that breaks our hearts and that we think breaks the heart of God too. It's no longer the norm that individuals or families have had a positive experience with church or any experience at all. So many of our neighbors and coworkers and friends and family members don't have any interest in the local church altogether. And we want to change that. Why? Because we believe when it's working right, the local church is the hope of the world. We believe that there really is no organization with as much potential to change hearts and transform lives and empower the next generation and make a lasting difference in the world as the local church. And so with God's help, we want to be a light in what may seem like a dark world. And we want that light to start shining right here in the St. Croix Valley. And if you think you're too far gone, we'd love to be the ones to tell you, God will always leave a light on. So whether you've been in church your whole life or have never stepped foot in church before, we're excited to open our doors to you and to welcome you to the place where real people and a real God meet. We're glad that you could be with us today.
Hey, good morning, Midcurrent. How's everyone doing today? Doing good. I saw a few fist pumps even. I'll take that. Hey, we're really glad you're here today. My name is Sten, and I'm the pastor here. And whether you're on site with us or whether you're tuning in online, we're really glad to have you carve out a portion of your Sunday to be with us. And I'm glad we could roll out the VIP parking for you out front once again. We're really glad to have you here with us today. Before I turn things over to Brian and the rest of the band this morning, I just want to say a few words to you before we get going here. If you're new with us today, man, we want to just say an extra special welcome to you. And truthfully, we would love to know that you are here with us today. We'd love to connect with you in any way that we could. In the seatback pockets in front of you, you'll see these little connection cards here. They're at the welcome desk as well. There's even a little QR code at the welcome desk that will get you to a digital form of these. We just want to make it as easy as possible to connect with you if you're new here with us and you're wanting to figure out more of what we got going on, figuring out how you can become more a part of what God is doing here in this place. So we would be absolutely thrilled to have you fill one of these out. Drop it in the collection box on your way out. Drop it with our crew at the welcome desk on your way out as well. And if you do that, grab a little Midcurrent mug. It's just our way to say thanks for being here with us today. And if you are new, we don't expect anything of you. This would be the only thing that we would ask of you. But if you do call this place Midcurrent home, if you've been on this journey that we have been on together, man, we'd be so thrilled to have you continue to partner with us. There's a number of easy ways you can give back to God's work here at Midcurrent Church. There's that same collection box. You can jump online. You can jump on the Church Center app. You can even use your smartphone to text to give if that's easy for you to do. But either way, every ounce of your generosity, every ounce of your faithfulness and your sacrifice to God ensures that we have more opportunities to create spaces right here at Midcurrent Church for real people and a real God to meet. And that's what we are all about. It's what we want to do more than anything here in this place. So we'd be thrilled to have you partner with us. The only other thing I want to mention, because there's not a whole lot else I want to say, the only thing I want to mention, and I'm sure it's on your radar, is next Sunday is Mother's Day, and that's just sometimes a real special time for us here at church, where families come out. Mom's one wish is like, can we just get the whole family at church together, right? So it's a lot of fun for us to gather here, and we got a few special things that we're looking forward to celebrating. So we know it's on your radar, but we just want to let you know that we would be absolutely thrilled to have you here as we just take some time to celebrate moms and all the special women in our lives next Sunday. Same service times, 9 and 10:30. We'd love to have you be with us for that. That's really all I want to share with you today. I want us to dive head first into a few moments where we use music as a way to engage with God. We use music as a way to give us an opportunity to get to know the heart of God more, to connect with the heart of God, to give thanks to God for who He is. And so I'm going to invite you to stand right now, and we're real excited about the ways that we might really, truly connect our hearts to God's heart here in these next few moments. So I'm going to turn things over to our very nicely dressed worship leader, Brian. And we are gonna continue this morning to open our hearts to the great God that we serve. We're really glad to have you here. Let's sing together.
You make the darkness run high. You make the darkness run and hide. You bring the broken back to life. Only you can, only you can. You set me free from every chain. You fill my heart with songs of praise. Only you can, only you can. Jesus, you're the only reason that I'm even breathing. I am wide awake. My heart beats only for your glory. My hands reach up for you to hold me. My soul sings, Father, you are holy. My feet dance to rhythm, to rhythm. Every beat is calling, every beat is calling out to me. You left the glory of your throne to bring this throne away back home. Only you can, only you can. You gave me love, gave me life, keep me dancing through the night. Only you can, only you can. My heart beats only for your glory. My hands reach up for you to hold me. My soul sings, Father, you are holy. My feet dance to rhythm, to rhythm. Every beat is calling, every beat is calling out your name. Oh, every beat is calling, every beat is calling out your name. Jesus, you're the only reason that I'm even breathing. I am wide awake. You move me, your freedom is consuming. I feel it rushing through me. Never need to say. My heart beats only for your glory. My hands reach up for you to hold me. My soul sings, Father, you are holy. My feet dance to rhythm, to rhythm. Every beat is calling, every beat is calling out your name. Oh, every beat is calling, every beat is calling out your name. Oh, every beat is calling, every beat is calling out your name. Every beat is calling, every beat is calling out your name. I saw Satan fall like lightning. I saw darkness from full cover. But the miracle that I just can't get over, my name is registered in heaven. I believe in signs and wonders, and I have resurrection power. But still the miracle that I just can't get over, my name is registered in heaven. Oh, my praise belongs to you forever. This is my testimony from death to life. 'Cause grace rewrote my story, I'll testify. By Jesus Christ the righteous, I'm justified. This is my testimony, this is my testimony. sons and daughters, bought with blood and washed in water. Sing the praises of the Spirit, Son, and Father. Our God will finish what He started. Oh, our God will finish what He started. This is my testimony from death to life. His grace, you wrote my story. I'll testify. By Jesus Christ the righteous, I'm justified. This is my testimony. This is my testimony. This is my testimony. If I'm not dead, you're not done. Greater things still to come. Oh, I believe. If I'm not dead, you're not done. Greater things still to come. Oh, I believe. If I'm not dead, you're not done. Greater things still to come. Oh, I believe. If I'm not dead, you're not done. Greater things still to come. Oh, I believe. This is my testimony from death to life. 'Cause grace, you wrote my story. I'll testify. By Jesus Christ the righteous, I'm justified. This is my testimony. Oh, I'm alive. This is my testimony from death to life. His grace, you wrote my story. I'll testify. By Jesus Christ the righteous, I'm justified. This is my testimony. This is my testimony. This is my testimony. You know, the great thing about our relationship with Jesus and walking with God is that the line that we just sang, if we're not dead, God isn't done yet. You know, a lot of times circumstances can seem bleak, and we just feel like, what is our story? What will our story tell other people? How will we use our lives to draw people closer to God? How will we use our lives to draw people closer to the kingdom? And I think the important thing is that we always seek and we always follow after what God wants in our lives, that we just be obedient to that in all times. And I know that sounds really easy, but it's not if we're being truthful. But know that God works to the good for those who love Him. As we sing this next song about the kingdom of heaven, it talks about all the blessings that we will receive. But first we need to seek, and we need to ask the Lord to come into our lives. Let's continue to worship Him. Blessed are the poor in spirit. This is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those mourn. They will be comforted. Blessed are me. They will inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst kingdom of heaven. Ask and he will. Just ask and he will. This is the kingdom. This is the kingdom. This is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are the merciful, they will be shown mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. Blessed kingdom. This is the kingdom. This is the kingdom of heaven. Ask and he will. Just ask and he will. This is the kingdom. This is the kingdom. This is the kingdom of heaven. Father God, we are so grateful that you are ever true to your word. God, that if we seek you first, God, if we ask to come into relationship with you, God, that you will do a great work in our lives. And Father, help us to recognize that that doesn't always mean things are going to be easy. We need that reminder, God. But we also need the reminder, God, that you are triumphant. You have proven yourself. You continue to prove yourself. And God, we know that you always will show yourself to us. Lord, we thank you for the promises you make in our lives. And we thank you most of all for the gift of life through your Son, Jesus. In his name we pray these things. Amen. Let's be seated.
In his book, a favorite of mine, it's his book, 7 Practices of Effective Ministry, Andy Stanley writes this to church leaders everywhere. He says this: imagine the advantage you would have if everyone in your church operated on the basis of the same internal code. What if every volunteer and every staff member, and I would add, what if every church member and church attender, what if they understood that certain practices were critical to the success of your mission, and that these practices were an essential part of the style and the culture of your ministry? Now, what if, he writes, what if you could somehow shape these principles into words and phrases that could be effectively integrated into the language of your ministry? Simple statements that would instantly remind the players on your team how and why they do what they do. Midcurrent Church, I want to do a whole lot more than imagine what that might be like. I don't want to just ask, what if we did all of that stuff? I want to make all of that stuff as much as I can. I want to make all of that a reality for you and for me, a reality for all of us right here, right now. And that is what our current series, This Is Us, was intended to do. That's why I have pressed pause and taken the last 4 weeks to use this series to help create for all of us the same internal code, right? To help more and more of you understand what exactly it is that is critical to the mission that we have set out to accomplish, and what practices are essential. Right? What practices are an absolutely essential part of the style and the culture and the heartbeat of our ministry. And then, here's the goal. Then we want to put it all into, is my goal to put it all into words and phrases that could be effectively integrated into the language of the ministry and into simple statements that remind us all of what and how and why we do what we do. That's what This Is Us has been all about, right? A series for those of you who have been attending since day one, or a series for those of you who have maybe just been joining us for the last few weeks. We want you to know what and how and why we do what we do. That is what This Is Us is all about. And we really cannot tell you about us without referring, without mentioning, without talking about at length We can't talk about us without referring to this vision that God has put on our heart as a church. Our vision is essentially how we accomplish our part in the mission that Jesus gave to all Jesus followers in Matthew chapter 28. Here's what Jesus said. He said, "Go and make disciples of all the nations." Then he said, "And teach these new disciples to obey all the commands I have given you." This is what we refer to as the Great Commission. And this is what every Christian church on the planet should be about. Some version of this should be their mission. We don't need to get too creative about it. Here at Midcurrent, we say it like this, that our mission is to reach more people for Jesus and to teach people to live more like him. We want to reach more people. That's the go and make disciples part. The truth is, as long as we have friends and neighbors and coworkers who don't know Jesus, then we still have work to do. We are still people on a mission. And then we want to teach them. More than that, we want to model for them, and we want to inspire them to live more like Jesus taught us to live. That's our mission. Our vision is what we've been talking about throughout this series. Our vision, on the other hand, of how we specifically do our part in that, because all the churches are shooting at the same target. Our vision of how we specifically would do our part is what makes us unique. It's what makes any church unique. The vision of any church is what makes it different than any other church. Not better or worse. They're not in competition with one another, all shooting at the same target. But a vision of any church is just what makes it different from any other one. Not better or worse, just unique. And so our vision that makes us unique, that is an essential part of the culture and of the style here, is this. We say that our vision is to be creating spaces and opportunities where real people and a real God meet. You hear us say it all the time. And essentially, this series that we have been in, that we've been kind of just going over the same thing, it was designed to break down that vision into words and into phrases and into statements that could become integrated into the language that we speak, and to remind us of why we do what we do. And so I've spent the last 3 weeks helping you to understand that when we talk about real people and a real God meeting, essentially we are trying to send the message. 3 things. We're trying to send the message that, number one, Christianity is approachable, that God is faithful, and that church is hospitable. That's the goal. When we say we want to be a place where real people and a real God meet, we're trying to send the message that Christianity is approachable, that God is faithful, and that church is hospitable. We want to do everything we can to make significant spiritual truth to be approachable and accessible for everyday people. So that's why we sing and pray and preach and talk and teach like we do. We want to see, we want you to see, people to see that it is when we align ourselves with God's activity and God's will for our lives that we experience for ourselves that God is faithful. That's why I teach the stuff that I do. That's why we open up God's word and say we got to take God at his word. And then we want to create environments. We want to create environments every time we open our doors that are hospitable, right? So that you know we were expecting you, that you know that our community knows we were expecting guests, and we want those same environments to be irresistible, right? So that you would want to be here, because we believe, we said this last week, we believe if we can capture your attention. I went off on a whole fog machine tangent. I'm not going to do that today. We believe that if we can capture your attention, deep down in our bones, we believe that God can capture more of your heart. Midcurrent, this is us. This is what makes us tick, and this is what makes our hearts beat. That you would get the message, that the faith, that following Jesus, it really is approachable. It is for you. We want you to see that God is faithful, and that the church is hospitable and maybe even irresistible. That's why we do what we do here. At the very same time, here's what I've come to understand. Okay? All of this is kind of true for so many churches, but all of this has the potential that we've been breaking down for 3 weeks now. All of this has the potential to send the message that the church or that Midcurrent is only about Sunday morning. Right? We run by talking about how what we do here and the lights and the thing and the irresistible. It has the potential to make you think that church or that Midcurrent is only about what happens here on Sunday morning. Let me tell you, it's not. Okay? So I will say this. Sunday is the main domino that sets all the other dominoes into motion, right? So all the other dominoes can't get out in front of the main domino, right? Sunday is the locomotive for this train we are riding. I love this word locomotive. It's a fascinating word to me. Loco is the Latin phrase for a place, and motive is the Latin word for movement or a change of position. So you put this together, and locomotive is movement or motion from a place. Sunday is that locomotive for us. The thing that fuels everything else that we do. It is the place that generates the motion for the rest of everything that follows. Okay? So Sunday, what we do here on Sunday is a really, 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 really big deal, but it is not the only deal. And I don't want anyone to get that message. It's a big deal, really big deal, but it is not the only deal. And so that's why not long ago we put a little addition onto this vision statement that we talk about. It's not plastered on the windows like the first part of the vision is. It's not necessarily on our website, but it is central. It has become central to how we operate. It is central to what it is that we want to be about. And so we've said this. We say, hey, this is the vision. We say it every single week and every email we write. We say, hey, we want to create spaces and opportunities for real people and a real God to meet. And we want to help you to take another step in a real relationship with Him. We want to do everything we can to create spaces where real people and a real God meet. And then we want to help you as best as we can, wherever you are at. We want to help you to take another step, and then another step, and then another step in a real, active, growing relationship with Him, with God. The goal being spiritual growth for you and for me. The goal being progress in our faith. The goal being maturity in the lives that we live and in the Jesus following that we participate in. The goal is spiritual growth. In fact, the author of the book of Hebrews, New Testament book of Hebrews, the author offers a pretty straightforward, offers a pretty blunt assessment, if you will, a pretty blunt assessment of that very goal. Here's what he writes to some of the first ever Jesus followers, as what they refer to as the first century church was beginning to form. Here's what the author of Hebrews writes to this group of first ever Jesus followers. He says, "So let us stop going over the basic teachings about Christ again and again. Let us go on instead and become what? Become mature in our understanding. Surely," he says, "surely we don't need to start again with the fundamental importance of repenting from evil deeds and placing our faith in God." He goes on to say, hey, we don't need further instruction on some of these basic principles. And then in verse 3, he says, "And so, God willing, we will what? We will move forward. We will take another step toward further understanding, another step toward further spiritual growth and further maturity." Midcurrent, we want to help you as often as we can. We want to help you move forward to further understanding and to further maturity and to further growth and progress in your life and in your faith. We want it to be approachable. We want you to understand that God is faithful, and we want to do it all as hospitably and as irresistibly as we can. But at the end of the day, our goal is that you would take another step in a real and a personal relationship with Jesus. We want you to take another step. Truth is, I really do, I wish this would be so much easier for you. I know, and we're all about making this stuff as easy for you as you can. So I wish we could do it for you. Okay? I wish we could promise you that you just had to take one step. That's it. I wish we could promise you that you just had to take one step through our front doors and then we'll take it from there. Right? I wish we could promise you that you just step through the doors, we'll set you onto a moving conveyor belt, and we'll spit you out the other side all shiny and perfect and put together. I wish we could do that for you. I quite frankly, as a side note, if I'm being really honest here, I think, and this is an innocent, mentality, I think this is kind of what some people hope for. I think this is kind of what some people expect from church too, right? In fact, this is just a side note, there's two expectations that I often observe most from people who walk through the door of a church. And in all my years of work in the church, I see this all the time. I think a lot of times people, they just think, man, if I just walk through the doors, they have this expectation that the church would fix whatever problems they're experiencing. And then this is the other thing I see, that if they just walk through the doors of a church, they will find me a lifelong BFF. Right? Now, here's the deal. Church is a really great place to be. If you are hurting, if you are struggling, you got some challenges in your life, or if you're lonely. But a lot of times, people who are experiencing sometimes challenges in life, specific challenges, a lot of times they expect the church to just boom, fix things, when what they really need is faith-based recovery. Right? From hurt or from pain or from trauma or from addiction. And the reality is the church isn't inherently, at its core, it isn't inherently able to provide always the kind of professionalized care that people need, which when they don't receive, then it only perpetuates kind of the feelings of hurt that made people walk through the doors of the church in the first place. Okay, that's the first thing I see. And then the other thing is that people show up looking for friendships at church. And church is a great place, a really great place to find friendship. But a lot of times what I notice is that people, they want the fruit that they see in friendships without realizing the investment that it requires, right? They just want to step onto the conveyor belt and let the church play matchmaker from there. In fact, there was a time a few years ago when there was a few pockets of community and friends forming here, which because we were smaller at the time, it was easier to kind of see and spot those pockets of friends forming. And I would hear all the time from people like, well, I want that. Why am I not a part of that? Why don't I have something like that? They saw the fruit, but what they didn't see was the investment, right? They saw the harvest, but they didn't see the intense season of planting. They didn't see all the times that community of friends intentionally invited each other, on their own accord, invited each other into their homes. They didn't see all the awkward first hangouts where people sat around with others that they really didn't know all that well, right? They didn't see the moments that those friends butt heads and spoke hard truth and worked through conflict and cried with each other and laughed with each other and cheered for each other. They saw the fruit, but they weren't necessarily aware of the investment that it took. Okay, now I fear that, in saying that, I fear that comes across a little harsh, and I absolutely do not intend it to be. It's just the most honest that I can be. But here's the thing, do not misunderstand me. We want you to find healing, and we want you to find freedom, and we want you to find new life, and we want you to find friendship here, and it really is possible, and it really can be powerful. But at the end of the day, I wish we could. We just can't do it for you. Okay? We're going to keep, trust me, I have a long list of things that I want to keep doing here. Programs I want to add, ministry initiatives that I want to start. But the reality is, even with all that stuff that we're going to do, that I'm antsy and itching to roll out into the ministry here, even with all of it, we can't program you. We can't, group you or class you into the life that you want. We can't program you into the deep and fulfilling friendships that you desire. We can create the spaces and we can create the opportunities, and we're working to do more and more of that. We can make them, faithful, and we can make them approachable. We can try to make them as irresistible and as influential as we can so that you might be drawn to them and then impacted by the love of Jesus in them. But after that, all we can do is to try to hold you accountable and to encourage you and to cheer for you again and again to take another step in a real, in a personal, in a growing relationship with Jesus. We're going to create the opportunities, and there's a whole lot more of them that I'm so excited to create. But at the end of the day, we pass the baton to you and stand alongside of you and cheer for you to take whatever step is next for you. And what's interesting about this idea, right, of just taking another step on this journey, what's interesting, if you will allow me to kind of go into church history geek mode for a second here, it won't be long, okay? What's interesting to me is that this idea of pursuing kind of just a real, personal, everyday faith in Jesus, it was this idea that it was at the foundation of the faith of Swedish immigrants who came to the greater Twin Cities, Minneapolis and St. Paul. It was this idea that it was at the foundation of the faith of these Swedish immigrants who came to the Twin Cities so long ago. These Swedish immigrants, these Swedish Christians, they had gotten a little bit tired, a little bit kind of like over the state church of Sweden. It had become a little too stale, a little too stiff, a little too rigid, a little too lifeless for them. And they all of a sudden started to recognize the need for something more, the need to be a part of something that stressed the importance of like just a real, not like some kind of religious relationship, but a real personal relationship with Jesus. And so this group of Swedish immigrants, this group of Swedish Christians, they started forming their own churches. It was all in the Twin Cities, right? They started forming their own little churches, and they became known, still to this day, they became known for one question that they would ask each other. It was the same question that they used this question as their greeting to each other. It was their conversation starter. It was the fuel for the conversation when they sat around the dinner table with each other. Here's the one question they would ask: how goes your walk? That's what they would ask each other. How goes your walk? They wanted to know, how goes your daily walk with Jesus? That's the question. Okay? Notice what they didn't ask. Okay? Notice they didn't ask, how goes your church? Is it one of those really cool churches that serves coffee in the sanctuary and meets all your needs? Notice they didn't go, they didn't ask each other, how goes your pastor? Does he have a huge following online, and does he make really cool Instagram reels? Does he have lots of tattoos and really tight jeans? Okay? No, they didn't ask, how goes your worship pastor? Does he go on tour and produce CDs when he's not leading worship on Sunday? They didn't ask any of that stuff. They asked one another, how goes your walk? How goes your daily walk with Jesus? Because the ultimate goal, they knew, was to mature and to grow and to move forward in faith and in understanding and relationship, personal relationship with Jesus. How goes your walk, they asked. And at the end of the day, that's why we encourage you. That's why we encourage you to all of the various things that we do. We're not doing everything perfectly right now, but we're trying to do it as faithfully as we can. This is why we encourage you to anything that we encourage you to here. It's why we encourage you to attend a meeting Midcurrent. Or it's why we encourage you to join MC circles when they are in season. It's why we encourage you to serve on a team in ministry. That can be a next step. It's why we encourage you to give back to God. That could be another step. It's why we encourage you towards MC partnership, or it's why we encourage you towards child dedication, or to baptism in church, and on down the line. It's all these things that we're trying to encourage you, because they ultimately represent another step in a relationship with Jesus. I get it. These are the things that I just listed off there. These are all the things that just sound like announcements in church. Those are just the announcements, right? But here's the truth. They're not just announcements about some kind of random, auxiliary kind of other things that we've got going on. They're not just announcements about some of the stuff over here. They're opportunities. They're invitations. We're not just passing on information to you. We're attempting to cultivate inspiration and motivation for you to take another step, and then maybe another one after that, and then maybe another one after that in a real, active, daily, personal, growing relationship with Jesus. Yes, our worship pastor, Brian, is really cool, and he could probably be writing music if he wanted to, if he wasn't busy keeping a 6-year-old startup church afloat. Yes, my jeans are probably a little too tight at sometimes, right? Yes, we're going to keep serving free coffee and let you take it into here. We're not going to stop doing any of that stuff that makes this place hospitable and approachable. We're not going to stop doing any of that stuff, but we can't keep doing it so much. We're going to keep doing it, but we can't ever let that message send the message to all of you that it's all up to us. We're going to keep doing all that stuff that we've spent the last 3 weeks talking about, but we can't do it so much that it sends the message to you, that it's up to us, and it sends the message that we'll take care of it. So much that we never hand the baton off to you to encourage you to take your relationship with Jesus into your own hands and to take another step in a relationship with Him. Now, here's what you got to understand, okay? That step, that's the goal. I mean, we've added it on, right? We're going to help you take another step in a real relationship with Jesus. Here's what we realize. Here's what you got to realize, too. That step is going to be different for everyone. Okay? A church like ours that has a welcome mat as big and as wide as ours, right? A church that tries to open its doors as wide as we do, it's going to attract people at all different stages of the game. It's going to attract people at all different stages of life and faith. We have people at this church who have been faithful Jesus followers for 50 plus years of their life, and we have others who are literally attending church for the first time in their life. Never done this before, but I'm walking through the doors here. We got them all. I love it. Everywhere in between. And so the next steps that we create, right, in case you're wondering, well, that's not how they all fit together. The next steps that we create have to be equally wide-ranging. Right? The best next step for one of you, it might be like a study of the Greek words in Jesus' Sermon on the Mount. While the best next step for others of you, it might just be hanging out with other Christian dudes for the first time ever. Right? One person's doing like Greek Bible study words, the other one's going, I'm just going golfing with this Christian dude, and I'm hanging out with him. The best next step is going to be different, right? It's not one size fits all. So what we're trying to do with the calendar we keep, the events that we promote, the invitations that we pass on to you, all we're trying to do is to encourage you to take whatever step is best for you. The best next step, it might be going from, for you, it might be going from visiting infrequently to attending regularly. That might be the best next step. It might be from kind of observing passively to participating actively. It might be a switch, the best next step for you. It might be a switch from simply going to church to shifting your mind to going, you know what, I'm going to start becoming the church. It might be a switch from thinking that the church exists for us to understanding that we are the church and we exist for the world. Best next step for you might be a shift from simply consuming all this place has to offer to contributing to what this place has to offer. And best next step for you might be, going from just attending on Sunday to circling up throughout the week when we create those opportunities for you. The best next step for you might be going from waiting for an MC circle to come about that's right for you to creating one, to starting one, to inviting others into your life and into your home, and to starting to lead others. It's going to be different for all of us. But however it works out, we want to encourage you to take another step. Friends, this journey that we are on together, it can't be just about showing up here on Sunday only. Now, do not misunderstand me. I want you to be here on Sunday. I really do. We're better together. I think we're at our best when we're all here. I love a big, full, busy Sunday morning. If I'm being really honest with you, I get bummed out. Attendance isn't everything, but I get bummed out when attendance dips, and I get bummed out when summer hits, and most people choose about every activity under the sun over coming to church, right? I want us to be here. I'm not saying Sunday doesn't matter, right? Because it does. It's the locomotive. It does matter. The time we spend together like this matters a lot. But just showing up here on Sunday, just showing up here every, however many weeks, just showing up on Sunday, it doesn't necessarily make your life any better than just hiring a personal trainer makes you any healthier, right? It's all about the work that you put in, the choices that you make, the investment that you make, and the step that you take toward the life, toward the faith, toward the relationship with Jesus that you want. And so we here at Midcurrent Church, we organize ourselves like we do, and we look forward to getting even better at it. But we organize ourselves like we do to help create that step for you and to walk alongside of you as you take whatever step might be right for you right now. It was just a few weeks ago that, right in the midst of this very series, I got one of the greatest compliments from one of our volunteers. I was passing by and I thanked them for the part that they were doing, the part that they were, playing to fulfill our mission. I told them how important their role was. I love connecting the dots for people to help them see how their role impacts what it is that we are doing here. So I was thanking them for how, their role was helping us, just create the welcome that we were trying to create. And they said back to me, they said, man, they love being a part of the team, and they appreciate it. I loved it. They said they appreciated how they could tell that there was a purpose behind everything that we did, big or small. They said they appreciated how they could tell that there was a purpose behind everything we did, that there was a specific intention behind just about everything that we did or didn't do. Folks, there's music to my ears. I cannot tell you how encouraged I was to hear that, because the truth is there is a method to our madness. There is a method to our madness. We may not execute it perfectly, but we are trying to execute it as faithfully as we can, so that we truly might reach more people for Jesus, and that we might start changing the world. One person, one marriage, one family, one neighborhood, one school, one community at a time, by teaching people to live more like Jesus taught us to live. Now, I know that I'm a little bit biased, but I can tell you honestly that there is more order in my life. There's more order in my heart, in my home, and in my little world when Jesus is at the center. When Jesus' priorities are my priorities, when his will and his way becomes more of my will and my way. And I, for one, would love to live in a greater world where more and more people were striving for the very same thing and experiencing for themselves the very same order, the very same peace, the very same confidence, the very same contentment that results from following after Jesus. It is the world we are trying to create here for you. It is the world we are inviting you into by creating space for real people and a real God to meet, and then helping you to take another step in a real relationship with him. This is us. It's what we're all about. And so, before I close, I just want to ask you one final question. I want to give you one final question to consider as you go from here this week. How goes your walk? Midcurrent. How goes your walk? And what step might you need to take? However it goes, and wherever you are, it would be our privilege to be a part of the journey. Let me pray. God, we give you thanks for being a God that is so full of love for us and so full of grace and mercy for us, God. We're so grateful that we don't have to be something special or be something in particular in order to come to you, God, in order to pursue you more. So grateful that we don't have to clean ourselves up or that we don't have to, be perfect in order to walk through the door as a church, God, or to come into relationship with you. And so, God, we give you thanks for that gift. We give you thanks for what we know to be true, God, that your arms are open wide to welcome us in. And God, as more of us, begin to pursue you, I pray that you would help spur us on to greater levels of understanding, God, to greater levels of faithfulness, to greater levels of understanding, and to greater levels of real, daily, personal relationships with you. God, thanks for your graciousness for us on that walk that we walk, God. Would you continue to be gracious to us as we take small steps, God, in the right direction toward you, toward your priorities, toward the things that you care about, toward the people that you care about in this world. God, we're all at different places on this journey, but I pray that you would come alongside each of us, God, that you would let us know that you indeed are alongside of us. And God, would you encourage us and would you guide us to take whatever step is next in our real, active, growing, daily, personal relationship with you. And we pray these things in the name of your Son, Jesus. Amen. Hey, thanks so much for being here. And if you've been journeying with us for this whole 4-week message series, this is us. I just want to say thanks to you for going on that ride with us. Before you go, I just want to remind you we're real excited about the chance we have to gather back here next Sunday for Mother's Day. We hope you'd be here for it. And if today there's anything that you might need prayer for, maybe there's a next step that you know you need to take or that you're trying to take, someone from our prayer team will be up front to my right to pray for you if that is something you are in need of today. With that being said, have a great rest of your Sunday, and we'll see you again next week. God bless you.